As a college student, you'll spend a lot of time reading, but this time has to be strategic. You have to figure out a way to read everything that's coming at you without spending an inordinate amount of time deriving the meaning. So as a reader, your job is to understand what the author is trying to convey to you, look at it within the context that it's being published, whether it's an academic article, a book of poetry, a book of prose, meaning stories and literature, a textbook that has scientific meaning or technical writing in it. All of these are contexts. And you're going to start your strategy of understanding, how do I glean information out of this, by understanding first, what context is it being given to me in? Who was this author? Do a quick Google search on the author. Figure out, who are they? Are they a senior professor? Are they a doctor? Are they a graduate student? Are they a fellow undergraduate student? So figure all this stuff out. Google is your friend in setting the context for what's coming at you. The next thing is to derive a strategy for bringing meaning out of things. The first thing I do is I look at the book itself. Let me grab one of these books here off my desk. This is a book of poetry by Tupac Shakur. The first thing I do is I flip through it and I figure out, how is it built? What is it? I'm not reading anything yet. Maybe I'm skimming the titles, but I want to see, oh, look, there's poetry, right, which looks like a poem, but in the beginning, there is text on a page that looks like prose. This is the introduction. This will set the stage for why this book was published. I then look for a table of contents, and here I find one. And this lets me figure out, how is this book constructed? Are there sections to it that I can quickly glean information? Even reading the table of contents will allow you to prepare yourself for getting the most out of the time that you're going to spend with whatever reading it is that you're doing. To be honest with you, I even read the back of the book to figure out, how was this received? When was it written? You can always look right inside on the title page. This is like the second or third page in, and it gives you who published it, when was it published, and all of that information. All of that is setting the context. Once you feel comfortable with, okay, what was this book intended to do? When was it published? Do I think it's for me? Am I the audience that's being written to? What kind of writing is it? Now I'm ready to begin reading. And the first thing I do is I skim. You need to, as an academic reader, get really good at gleaning a lot of information quickly. Now, skimming is not just flowing over the words, right? I'm trying to derive meaning out of titles, out of things that are describing images or pictures. I'm going to read those captions. I'm going to read the section headings. And then when I'm sitting down to read a section, I read the first sentence of each paragraph. And I typically read the last sentence of each paragraph. Because as you all know, the first sentence is the topic sentence, and the last sentence of every paragraph is the summary. So if you read those, then if I still don't understand it, then I'll read the whole paragraph. So your job as an academic reader is not to read every word. It's impossible. There are too many articles, too many websites, too many books to read, okay? What you need to do is to be able to find a strategy for you for reading and getting the most meaning out of it as you can. What that means is, if you don't understand something, that's when you need to dig in. If you do know something, great, go to the next section. In an academic article, there's always an abstract, which is a one-paragraph summary of what the paper is about, who did it, what did they do, what were their conclusions, right? What were their findings? And there's always an introduction section, and at the very bottom, right above the references, there is a conclusion. Those are the things I read first. I read the abstract. Is this for me? If I'm interested, then I dive in. If I'm not, I move on. There's hundreds of thousands of academic articles. You can't read every one, so create a strategy. Start with the abstract. If it's interesting to you, move on. Go to the intro and the conclusion. If it's still interesting to you, then scan the headings, finding things that you don't know, read those sections, and figure out what all the charts and graphs and images are, what the story is behind them. I have another video on how to deal with charts and graphs and images, all right? So that's your job, to become kind of a forensic reader. You're looking for meaning. It's like you're an investigator, all right? And you're trying to drive through all of these words to figure out what is hidden in these words. And that's where you have to develop a strategy that works for you. All right, work on this strategy, because the faster you can get to a point where you are deriving information out of what you're reading, the more successful you're going to be as a scholar.